Hey everyone, today we're gonna go over how to not get taken down as much. One of my favorite things to go over. So I think the first one, most important thing that you're gonna need to know is your stance, okay? A lot of the times you see beginners who stand really upright here and they don't know that someone's gonna maybe reach for their legs and pick their legs up and then maybe start to do like some sort of takedown on them. Okay, so it doesn't need to be really crazy. If you watch really high level wrestling, you might see people really low, almost like on their knees in like a crazy low stance. It's not super necessary, especially if you're just starting out, but I think always having like a bend in your knees and making sure you feel like your weight is in your legs, okay? The next thing, it's also gonna be kind of along the same lines, but if my head is lower than my partner, that's actually one of my first blocks, because if my head's really high here, when he goes to reach for my legs, there's nothing really stopping him, okay? But if we reverse it and now his head's kind of high and mine's a little lower, anytime he goes to reach for my legs here, my head's always kind of in the way. And you don't want to be headbutting your training partners all the time, okay? But it's just an idea to have your head like at least level or maybe even slightly lower than your opponents if you're worried about them taking you down. The next thing is that I can use my hands defensively. So sometimes that'll be, posting on the shoulder, or even with both hands is fine. It's not the most ideal, but I can use my hands to either like kind of block him and keep him away, or I can use them as kind of like what we call underhooks. So if he's trying to grab my legs here, I can always use my arms and I can kind of like bring him up into this position. What that should tell you is that instead of always trying to reach for your partner, you want to make sure that you keep that good stance and you always have your arms in so that you can react defensively instead of just reaching over and grabbing them and having them, go in and attack your legs, okay? One of the next things I would say that's really important is balance, okay? Sometimes your leg's gonna get picked up. Sometimes people are even just pushing you, pulling you around. It's good to think that you're almost like surfing. So it's really important that you learn to like move your weight and balance and always regain your balance. So that way, whenever you're getting moved around, instead of just, reacting, you're always thinking about balancing and finding your balance. So let's say you're like pushing, pulling me around, and yeah, I'm always like trying to just maintain my balance and stay in a good stance here, okay? The very last thing I would say, if someone like tries to get in and take control of your leg, is gonna be like a good sprawl. So now let's say that my partner actually grabs my leg here, however they do it. I wanna start putting my weight on my partner and making sure that my feet are far away, because if I just stand here and I'm really strong, eventually I can start to get knocked over. So instead I put weight on my partner here, okay? I try to keep my legs as far away from them as possible, okay? And if I'm lucky or if I'm fast enough, maybe I can actually get myself free and we can kind of be in a neutral position here, and then we can both stand back up. But I would say the basics of it are having a good stance, trying to keep your head a little bit lower or at least level to theirs, having some good balance, and then having a good sprawl. Okay, the sprawl just helps keep your hips away. So in general, if you're keeping your hips back a little bit, you're gonna be harder to take down than if your hips are always forward and people are just grabbing your legs and pushing you around whenever they want to.